Okay, kiddos, number 6 installment. I hate to even interrupt the book, but it's a long time to sit for all of this. So, here we go. We stayed 3 days in Capablanca Islands for 2 reasons. One was the shortage of provisions caused by Ben Butcher's huge appetite. The second was the bullfight. In these islands, which belonged to Spain, bullfights were held every Sunday. We arrived on a Friday, and after getting rid of the seamen, we walked through the town, which was called Monteverde. Streets were narrow, winding, and twisting. Houses were so close together that the people could shake hands with their neighbors on the other side of the street. We did not go to a hotel because we had no money. On the second night, we passed a bed maker's shop. Several beds the man had made were outside on the street. The doctor started chatting in Spanish to the bed maker. As supper time approached, the man invited us to supper, and after supper we sat on the pavement and talked far into the night. When we got up to go back to the ship, the bed maker wouldn't hear of it. He invited us to sleep in the beds he had made on the street. It was hot, so we needed no blankets, and it was great fun to fall asleep outdoors, watching the people walking by. It seemed the Spanish people never went to sleep. Little restaurants and cafes around us were open, and people drank coffee and talked. A guitar softly strummed in the distance, and I fell asleep thinking of my mother and father. Here's another picture, you guys, and it says the doctor started chatting in Spanish to the bed maker. The next morning, we were awakened by a procession of men in brightly colored clothes, followed by crowds of ladies and cheering children marching down the street. I asked the doctor who they were. "Those men are the bullfighters," he said. "There is to be a bullfight tomorrow." When I asked what a bullfight was, the doctor's face reddened with anger. "It is a stupid, cruel, disgusting business," he said. "The Spanish people are most lovable and hospitable. I cannot understand how they enjoy these wretched bullfights." He explained how a bull was made very angry by teasing. The men would come out waving red cloaks and would then run away. Then they would send poor old horses into the ring for the bull to chase and kill. When the bull was tired, a man came out with a sword and killed him. The doctor said that every Sunday in every big Spanish town, 6 bulls and many horses were killed that way. "Aren't the men ever killed by the bull?" I asked. "Very seldom," he said. "A bull is not nearly as dangerous as he looks. The bullfighters are clever and quick. A famous bullfighter is more important in Spain than a king. Ridiculous." Just then the bedmaker came out to watch the procession, and while we were talking, the bedmaker's friend walked up and was introduced as Don Enrique Cardenas. He spoke in English when he heard where we were from, and he seemed very gentlemanly. He asked if the doctor planned to go to the bullfight. "Certainly not," John Dolittle said firmly. "Bullfights are cruel, cowardly shows." Don Enrique nearly exploded. He said bullfighting was a noble sport. "Rubbish," snorted the doctor. "You never give the poor bull a chance. Only when he is tired and dazed do your matadors dare try to kill him." It looked as if the Spaniard would strike the doctor. The bedmaker came between them and took the doctor aside. He whispered that the Don was an important person. He supplied all the bulls from his own farm for all the bullfights in the Capablancas. The doctor turned to Don Enrique with a gleam of boyish mischief in his eyes. "You tell me your bullfighters are brave and skillful. Who is the best matador for tomorrow's show?" "Pepito de Malaga," the Spaniard said, "one of the bravest men in all of Spain." "I have a proposal. I have never fought a bull. Suppose I went into the ring tomorrow with Pepito and any matadors you choose. If I can do more tricks with a bull than they can, would you promise to do something for me?" Don Enrique laughed heartily. "You must be mad. You would be killed at once." "I'll risk it. Or are you afraid to take my offer?" The doctor said, smiling. "Afraid? Sir, if you can beat Pepito de Malanga in the bull ring, I'll promise anything I can grant." "Very good," said the doctor. "You are a very powerful man. If you wish to stop all bullfighting in these islands after tomorrow, you could." "Yes, I could," Don Enrique said proudly. "Well, that is what I ask if I win my wager," said the doctor. The men shook hands. "I warn you," the Spaniard said, "you are throwing your life away." He turned and walked into the shop with the bedmaker. Polynesia flew onto my shoulder. I have a plan, she whispered into my ear. Get Bumpo. Come someplace where the doctor can't hear us. We pretended to look into a jeweler's window while the doctor sat down on the bed to lace his boots. This is a great way for us to get some money to buy food, Polynesia said. The doctor is bound to win tomorrow. Bumpo, you go to Don Enrique and make a bet that the doctor will win. He will have to pay you when he loses the bet, which he surely will. Say you will bet him 2,500 pesos, or pasitas. We crossed the street and slipped into the bedmaker's shop. The doctor was still working on his boots. Don Enrique, allow me to introduce myself. I am the Crown Prince of Jolinginki. Would you care to have a small bet on tomorrow's bullfight? Bumpo asked. Don Enrique bowed. Why, certainly, but I must warn you that you are bound to lose. How much? A mere truffle, Bumpo said. Just for fun. Say 3,000 pesetas. Agreed, said the Spaniard, bowing. I will meet you after the bullfight tomorrow. Polynesia sighed. I feel as if a huge load has been taken off my mind, she cackled. The streets of Monteverde were hung with flags as crowds flocked to the bull ring the next day. The doctor borrowed a colorful matador suit from Don Enrique. Bumpo and I worked hard to get the waistcoat to close in front. Crowds of small boys ran after us as we walked from the harbor with the doctor. They called him Juan Hagapoco, el Grueso Matador, which is Spanish for John Dolittle, the fat bullfighter. And when we arrived, the doctor said he would like to take a look at the bulls before the fight. In the bullpen, 6 huge black bulls were running around wildly, in a few hurried words and signs. The doctor told them what he was going to do. The poor bulls were so happy when they heard there was a chance that bullfighting would be stopped, they promised to do just what he said. The doctor went to the matadors' dressing rooms. Bumpo, Polynesia, and I took our seats in the bull ring. The ring was crackling with excitement. At the opening, Don Enrique explained to the crowd the challenge between the doctor and the matador. He told them what he had promised to do if the doctor won, and the crowd roared with laughter. Everyone cheered when Pepito entered the ring. A large door across the ring opened, and a bull came charging out. Pepito waved his red cloak, and the bull rushed towards him. He stepped aside, and the people cheered. The game was repeated for several minutes. 10 minutes later, another small door opened, and Dr. Dolittle walked into the ring. The crowd rocked with laughter at the sight of the short, fat matador bulging from his sky blue velvet suit. Juan Hagapoco, as they called him, walked to the center of the ring. He bowed to the ladies. He bowed to the bull. He bowed to Pepito and Pepito's assistant as well, and then the bull was let loose. The doctor turned, stared at the onrushing bull, and frowned. The bull's speed slowed as though he feared the frown. Soon he stopped altogether. The doctor shook his finger at the bull, who began to tremble. Tucking his tail between his legs, the bull turned and ran away. A gasp came from the crowd. The doctor ran after the bull. After 10 laps around the ring, the doctor caught the bull by the tail. He led him to the center of the ring and made him do circus tricks. He made the bull kneel, and he got on the bull's back and did handsprings and acrobatics on the beast's horns. Pepito and his assistant grew green with envy as they watched the doctor. This bull is no good anymore, the doctor said. Take him away. He turned toward Don Enrique. Does the caballero wish for a fresh bull? The Spaniard asked. No, I want 5 fresh bulls, all in the ring at once, the doctor said as the crowd hummed with anticipation. Pepito jumped up and said it was against the rules of bullfighting. The doctor turned to Pepito and said, well, if the caballero is afraid... Afraid, screamed Pepito. I am afraid of nothing. I have killed 957 bulls. Let's see if you can handle 5 more, the doctor shouted. Let the bulls in. As the 5 bulls bounded into the ring, the silence filled the air. Look, fierce, the doctor called in cattle language. Go for Pepito, the one in purple first. But don't kill him, just chase him around the ring. I want to show you the picture. Here's the picture that came up when I was reading. So that's the doctor doing the handspring, or the handstand on the bull's horns. Funny book. The bulls put their heads down and charged straight for Pepito. The Spaniard tried to look brave, but the sight of the 5 pairs of horns galloping at him was too much. He turned towards the fence, vaulted over it, and disappeared. Now the other one, the doctor whispered. In 2 seconds, the assistant matador was out of sight. Juan Hacapoco, the fat matador, was alone in the ring with 5 raging bulls. The rest of the show was really worth seeing. The bulls raced around, bellowing with rage, and shot across the ring, pretending they were ready to toss the doctor into the sky. I held my breath, although I knew what had been planned. The bulls all came near to striking the doctor, but at the last minute, the fat matador jumped out of the way, and the brutes thundered past, missing him by a hair. Then the 5 bulls encircled him, and the crowd screamed with delight. The doctor broke loose from the animals surrounding him, catching each by the horn. He gave their heads a sudden twist and threw them into the sand. The bulls acted their parts, panting and growling as if they were exhausted. With a final bow to the ladies, the doctor took a cigar from his pocket, lit it, and strutted out of the ring. The most tremendous noise I have ever heard broke loose at the gate as the gate closed behind the doctor. Some men were angry, but the ladies called for the doctor to come back into the ring. When he did, the women blew kisses and tossed flowers, rings, necklaces, and brooches at his feet. The doctor smiled, bowed, and backed out. "Bumpo," Polynesia ordered, "you go and gather those trinkets and we'll sell them. Then go get your 3,000 pesetas from the Don. Tommy and I will meet you outside and we'll pawn the stuff at the jewelry store. Hurry." Outside the ring was great excitement. People were arguing violently. Bumpo met us, his pockets bulging with jewelry. We slowly slid through the crowd to the matador's dressing room. "Great work," Polynesia said to the doctor, "but I smell danger. Let's get back to the ship quickly. Put your coat over that silly suit. Too many in this crowd are furious because you won. Now they have to stop the bullfighting. We must get away." "You're right," the doctor said. "I'll slip down to the ship and wait for you there. Come a different way. Hurry." As soon as the doctor left, Bumpo found Don Enrique. "Honorable sir, you owe me 3,000 pesetas," Bumpo said solemnly. Without a word, the Spaniard paid his debt. We set out to buy food, hiring a cab along the way. We bought everything in sight at the big grocer's shop. But as we came out of the shop and loaded the cab, we saw crowds of angry men with sticks shouting, "The Englishmen, they stopped the bullfights, throw them in the sea." Bumpo told the driver to take us to the harbor fast. We won't get to pawn the jewelry," Polynesia said, "but we'll save that for another time. We've got 2,500 pesetas left from the bet." We reached the harbor. The doctor had sent Chi-Chi with the rowboat to wait at the landing. And as we were moving the supplies from the cab to the boat, the angry mob hit the wharf. Bumpo grabbed a huge beam of wood and swung it around, shrieking dreadfully loud African battle yells. This kept the crowd back while Chi-Chi and I jumped into the boat. Bumpo hurled the beam towards the crowd of Spaniards and leaped in after us. We rode like mad for the Curlew. The mob howled with rage. We reached the ship's side. The doctor had the anchor up and everything ready for our getaway. In a moment, the Curlew swung round into the wind and sped out of the harbor toward Brazil. "Ha!" sighed Polynesia as we collapsed on the deck and caught our breath. "Not a bad adventure. Not bad at all." And off we went toward our next destination, hoping to find news of Long Arrow on Spider Monkey Island. That was an adventure, huh? Now we're on part 4. Miranda, the purple bird of paradise, had said we'd have good weather. For 3 weeks the Curlew sailed with a steady wind, and we did not pass many ships. One afternoon we saw what looked like dead grass floating around us. The doctor said it was gulfweed. Many crabs crawled on the weed. The sight of them reminded the doctor of his dream of learning the language of the shellfish. He fished up several of the crabs and put them in the listening tank. He also caught a strange-looking chubby little fish called a silver fidget. He listened to the crabs with no success, and then he put the fidget into the tank. I was doing my duties on the deck when I heard him shouting from below to come down. "Stubbins," he cried, "a most extraordinary thing. Unbelievable. I'm not sure I'm not dreaming. What is it, doctor? What's the matter?" "The fidget," he whispered, pointing with the trembling finger. "He talks English, and he whistles tunes. English tunes." That's impossible, I cried. He speaks only a few words all mixed up with his own language, which I can't make out, said the doctor, but they're English words. Listen, tell me everything you hear. I went to the glass tank. The doctor grabbed a notebook and a pencil, and I stood on the stand and put my right ear into the water. At first I heard nothing at all, and then from within the water I heard a thin, small voice. What is it? The doctor asked in a whisper. What does it say? I can't tell. It's some strange fish language. Wait a minute. Now I get it. No smoking. Here's a queer one. Popcorn and picture postcards here. This way out. Don't spit. What? Funny things to say, doctor. This is most extraordinary, he kept muttering as his pencil wiggled over the page. Frightfully thrilling. I wonder where he... Here's some more English, I cried. The big tank needs cleaning. The big tank, the doctor murmured. Where on earth did he learn? He leaped out of his chair. I have it, he yelled. This fish has escaped from an aquarium. Look at the things he has said. There's no doubt about it. Stubbins, it's quite possible, not certain, but possible, that through him I may learn the shellfish language. What a great piece of luck. Here's a picture, you guys. He talks English. And then we'll take a break.